Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Mysteries Unveiled, where we explore the fascinating world of forensic science and its applications in everyday life. Today, we will be diving into a very intriguing experiment called Locard's exchange principle and its relation to our daily activities. For one of our experiments, I had to wear a t shirt throughout the whole day and document my movements and encounters. The t shirt became basically a canvas capturing traces of the environments visited and the interactions experienced. Let's dive into the findings and unravel the hidden secrets within. So, in the experiment, I started my day in the biology lab at around 9:30 a.m. and I had noticed that I had collected a trace from the lab. It happened to be a long piece of blonde hair that was on my right sleeve, and it served as evidence that I was in a class, and it was more than likely transferred from a student or a piece of equipment that I encountered in the laboratory that day. Moving on later to I had lunch at around 11 o'clock a.m. I had encountered a little green piece of parsley that left a stain on the bottom left of my shirt. It did not help that I was wearing a white shirt, but it did for the experiment. The trace reflected what I was eating, what kind of diet I have, and where I could have eaten, and it gives evidence of dining places as well. Then, right after lunch, I returned home around 12 o'clock. I finished some homework and noticed the traces that I'd brought from going to my lab and going to eat lunch. And then I went to my brother's baseball game at around 6:30 p.m. when I noticed I had dirt particles that were all over my white shirt, particularly on the front, suggesting that I was in a dusty or soil environment and that I picked it up while walking outdoors. Also, with me sitting close to the baseball field, I feel like I got more dirt particles on my shirt. And the other thing is that this isn't just any kind of dirt, this is a specific baseball clay. So, if I had gone out and did a couple of murders, I probably would have been traced back to the baseball field. And then shortly after the baseball game, I ended up taking my dog for a walk around 10 p.m., introducing a new set of traces. I had a lot of dog hair on the chest area of my shirt, which basically shows that I have a pet dog with light brown hair. And so far, the low cards principle has shown what I do in my day to day activities. It shows where I go during the day, what I eat, who I interact with, everything. Finally, at around 10:30 p.m., I returned home and removed my shirt, and the experiment was finally done. The shirt had all the traces from my daily interactions and offered very valuable insights into my low cards principle exchange in my daily life. In conclusion, what I learned from this experiment was that every interaction will leave its mark, serving as basically a silent witness to every movement and encounters that we have in our day to day lives. In forensic science, Locard's principle holds that the perpetrator of a crime will bring something into the crime scene and leave with something from it, and that both can be used as forensic evidence, stated by Dr. Edmund Locard, who lived from 1877 to 1966. Okay, so now let's dive into one of the most famous cases that was all over television that Locard's principle actually helped to, sort of solve. This principle proved a really crucial role in the O.J. Simpson case, where fibers were found on victims and at the crime scene, and it played a huge role in linking O.J. Simpson to the murders. Fibers, both natural and synthetic, were key pieces of evidence in this case. For example, strands of dark blue cotton fibers were found on Ron Goldman, matching the color of a sweatsuit that Simpson was known to wear. Additionally, a cap at the crime scene contained carpet fibers that matched those of O.J. Simpson's Bronco, linking him to the location of where the murders occurred. DNA evidence also played a very crucial role in this investigation. DNA can be obtained from blood samples, skin samples, and even hair evidence. In the case of O.J. Simpson, DNA profiles were obtained through a process called gel electrophoresis. Forensic scientists took samples of blood found at the crime scene and matched it to that of O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson, proving evidence against him. There was another blood evidence that further solidified the case against O.J. Simpson. There was blood found on his socks in his bedroom, and it was identified as Nicole's blood, while blood found around and on Simpson's Bronco was matched to both Nicole and Ron Goldman. Perhaps the most incriminating evidence was the blood found on the left-hand glove outside of Nicole's house, which was proven to be a mixture of Nicole's, O.J. Simpson's, and Goldman's blood. The careful analysis of hair, fibers, and DNA evidence, guided by the Locard's principal exchange, provided the prosecution with a compelling case against O.J. Simpson. Despite O.J. Simpson's claims of innocence, the overwhelming forensic science evidence presented at trial led to his conviction for the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. This case serves as a reminder of the power of forensic science and the pursuit of justice, and how Locard's principle plays a big role in solving crimes. Another very, very famous case that was brought up recently was the case of the Zodiac Killer. This principle of Locard's is evident in fibers found at crime scenes and on victims' bodies. In the case of the Zodiac Killer, fibers, both natural and synthetic, were collected and analyzed by forensic scientists. For instance, 4 brown Caucasian head hair fragments were discovered, providing potential clues for the perpetrator's identity. Additionally, fibers found on the victim's clothing and at the crime scenes could have been crucial pieces of evidence, as they may have been directly or indirectly transferred by the killer. The crime scenes, including Lake Herman Road in Vallejo, California, were carefully examined for trace evidence. In the case of David Arthur Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, who were tragically murdered by the Zodiac Killer, fibers could have been used as potential evidence to link the killer to the scene. The murder of David Arthur Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen was a chilling act of violence. David was shot in the head at point-blank range, while Betty was shot 5 times in the back, resulting in instant death. The Zodiac Killer used a .22 caliber semi-automatic pistol, and the meticulous planning of the crime scene demonstrated the calculated nature of his actions. Evidence collected at the crime scenes included direct evidence, such as eyewitness accounts, and physical evidence like fingerprints, providing investigators with crucial leads. For instance, fingerprints and latent impressions found at Paul Stein's murder scene could have potentially led to the identification of the killer. Eyewitness accounts, while not always reliable, provide valuable information to investigators. For example, at one crime scene, witnesses reported hearing screams and other noises that could have been related to the murders, helping to establish a timeline of events. The Zodiac Killer case captivated the public's attention, sparking fear and concern throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. With a total of 7 definite victims and a series of cryptic letters sent to newspapers and authorities, the case remains one of the most notorious unsolved mysteries in criminal history. Despite the extensive investigations and forensic analysis conducted over the years, the identity of the Zodiac killer remains elusive. However, the principles of forensic science, including Locard's principle of exchange, could continue to guide investigators in their quest for justice. Well, that's all for today. I hope you guys learned a lot about the Locard's principles of exchange. Join us next time as we continue to unravel mysteries of unknown and explore the fascinating world of forensic science. Until then, stay curious and keep searching for answers. Thanks for tuning in to Mysteries Unveiled. See you next time.